So the plan is still officially follow the snatcher, right?
Yeah. There a problem?
Other than the fact we don't know where it is or where we're going. No.
Don't worry, guys. I have a few other 1,000 great plans rummaging through my head, including my next great plan: waltz right into enemy territory with no protection. That'll go down well, won't it?
Charging
Even
and
better,
blazing.
I might as well go the whole hog, wear a frying pan on my head, take a spoon, and bash it on my head, shouting to the enemies, "We're over here!"
Is it sad?
That's gonna cause you damage.
Is it sad, Webs? That sounds basically exactly like a JD plan.
I mean, there's water
And
dropping,
with
so you
that, welcome
can
back
pull.
to Gears of War 4.
So you can pull up rock and say, "I'll use my trusty frying
Hey,
pan
Dwebs.
as a drying pan."
Hey. Give Brock credit. That plan actually works in keeping his hair dry.
Hey, Webs.
Yeah.
More like Gears of Lameness, am I right?
No, Pedro, I got
This
one that
is
rhymes.
2007 YouTube.
Yes.
And then Pedro, I got one that rhymes.
Go ahead.
Gears of Poor, more like.
What a story, Mark.
And Dwibs, not Mark.
It was a room reference to it. Anyway, all right.
Yeah,
So
I
let's
know.
let's continue to try to find Marcus, I guess. Yeah, but that's exactly the thing, though. Yeah, they try to portray JD as, you know, the maverick, you know, the guy who just, you know, whenever there's problems, he's the one who is, you know, takes like this incredibly irrationally brave
Again,
thing.
they're desperately trying to make him Star-Lord when he's not.
Yeah,
And like I said, it's not even consistent with the rest of his character. He only acts like that when the plot needs him to.
Now, don't get me wrong.
Otherwise-
Sorry, I've gone.
Otherwise, he's pretty much just your typical hero rule follower and all of that. I mean, he does stick to the rules and protocols of, let's call it Reyna's group, because I can't be bothered to remember the name of that organization.
it doesn't have one actually. At least not that I've seen. Maybe the comics expand upon it. I don't know.
Oh, fuck. Now, don't get me wrong. Even the original trilogy was akin to, 80s action movie like Stallone and Schwarzenegger, so the characters conversely were based on that too. So, I can see the thought process behind it, make the new generation more similar to the action hero that the cool kids now are following, Again, idea behind it, I can get it. It's just that it's a poor execution, simply put.
There's definitely a problematic mindset when some people think that, almost everything from the 80s and earlier is automatically outdated and has no right having, it being brought back to modern age, when that couldn't be any farther from the truth.
Never mind the fact that during the time of the release of this game, there was a complete huge-ass crazy 80s nostalgia going on.
You said a while ago, Jova, that this is Rod and Tom trying to quote-unquote get hip with the kids, and that kind of stuff. Here's the thing, though. The Gears of War franchise became popular by appealing to late teens or young adults. Why can't we just appeal to that demographic like we've been doing throughout this entire franchise?
This couples with another problem that I mentioned earlier, too. The problem when people assume that, this whole generation acts like this, when... I'm sorry, that's a stupid mentality to have. Like, the saying, okay, boomer, that doesn't mean it's okay to all boomers. That doesn't mean we're calling out all boomers. We're only calling out the boomers who stay and act on stupid and outdated beliefs that actually should stay behind, And again, it's not a saying that you apply to all people from the baby boomer age, okay? Seriously.
I'm learning a lot
this
today.
whole mentality that all millennials act this way, all people from insert whatever generation name act this way, and actually, if you want to call someone out, sure, yes. But this idea that, generations can automatically be bought over by these trends or whatnot, ironically makes the game itself, makes any fictional media itself possible to be dated anyway, and in some ways makes it look silly in the long run.
It's one of those things where, I get it. Fortnite and Apex Legends are the most popular thing right now with the kids nowadays. Because trust me, I even know.
Well, back in when this game was released.
I was about to say that. Yeah, I was about to get into that.
To start maybe, but not completely.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. but at the time, not yet. So I have to make an argument to Rod and Tom. Why is this? Is it to appeal to kids? Why? Kids like dark, dingy stuff. That's why they buy Call of Duty games with Nazi zombies. You know, they want action-packed fun that makes them feel like they're See, this is a common thing about child psychology. Children love consuming media that makes them feel like they're grown up. You know, like
Can I add an example to this? Like, but back when I was in school,
Go ahead.
there were so many kids who wanted to play Grand Theft Auto, despite the fact that these kids were 12. You know, because it made them feel cool and stuff. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
That's how kids are. That's how kids have always been. So this idea that you know, in order to appeal to the new generation, we have to, you know, as Jova said, go boomer or whatever the hell that term is, because I don't know, because I'm an old man.
Like Pedro, I may have a theory about. I think you basically just answer your own question, you know, with these statements. But I don't want to elaborate on that because that will start to run on assumptions, and I don't believe it's the appropriate timing for having those. But I'll tell you more after we're done with this part.
But yeah, I can definitely vouch for that. I mean, heck, you know, there are plenty of games that are dark and gritty that kids do love and play a lot. Heck, loads of kids played Halo back in the day.
And the original trilogy of Gears as well, because a lot of kids who bought the 360 played Gears of War. There are kids who played Gears of War 1 when they were kids.
Okay. Let me put things into perspective. It is that so much that sometimes originally child-friendly properties were going for more grittier and darker looks. You know, okay, now not so much, you know, darker and gritty looks to the point where they lost their identity, like, say, Prince of Persia 2 did. I'm talking about stuff like War for Cybertron, which was definitely more of an adult take on Transformers, but still, you know, kept the overall theme of it being Transformers, and remember that it is still a story about robots that transform into vehicles and whatnot.
Basically, yeah.
You know, honestly, now that I've seen Gears of War in action, it seems like War for Cybertron did take a few cues from Gears of War and refine them for a Transformers mental style.
Well, remember, Jova, Gears of War was the pioneer in general of
the cover-based shooter.
Cover-based shooter, so it is natural that many things follow in its lead, but maybe not just in the gameplay, but also presentation.
It's
Granted, War for Cybertron doesn't act on a cover-based system, but it does take a lot of the gameplay cues still. So yeah, I definitely see that.
Mm-hmm. That's why a lot of kids media back from the early 2000s and mid 2000s was done like that, because the
Thundercats series back then is a brilliant example. Like, they took a silly cartoon from, what was that, the 70s, I think?
80s,
you know,
actually.
80s, thank you. Tried actually to, you know, make it more, you know, take itself more seriously, you know. And I think it didn't even pay off back then, because, like, it was cancelled after a couple of seasons. But the intention to make it more, you know, more for that demographic was there. Now, what happened more recently, it's another story, but I was just making an example, you know, for that one. Another example is one that Pedro did mention in another run for the Conan the Barbarian animated series, you know.
Mm-hmm. Actually, too, it's funny you bring up Thundercats 2011. There's a bit of a misconception with that show. A lot of people think that, oh, that show just didn't do well, and that's why it got canceled. Actually, no, that's not the main reason. First off, as per usual, it was put in a terrible time slot. Yet, despite that terrible time slot, a lot of people were watching it. No. The main reason it got canceled was because LEGO sort of, it was actually going to get a second season, but then right at the last minute, LEGO presented this new, cheaper show that Cartoon Network just decided to replace Thundercats 2011 with.
What was it, Ninjago?
No, it was the Chimera.
Something else. Okay.
It starts with a C. You know, it was sort of a similar thing. And ironic that show later got canceled itself as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what the C stands for. Cancel.
Yeah.
Ooh, an actual tomb.
What was your
Basically, right now we're basically delving deeper and deeper into the place where the locusts have been gestating themselves for the last 25 years.
We're following the snatcher that supposedly kidnapped Marcus.
So what were you guys talking about? Shows that were like earlier on but get a more darker revival.
Yeah, I can tell you this, when I was little, just because it was on a timestamp that was like 7 a.m., that didn't stop me and my sister watching very religiously stuff like Digimon Adventure. Just saying.
Yeah, and I mean, hell, there was plenty of dark stuff on that I watched when I was younger. Like they were re-airing, they re-aired Captain Scarlet in the 2000s, and that's when I first heard about it.
I will say this: the 90s to the mid 2010s were definitely quite. I don't want to say. Well, yeah, kind of a really good golden age for kids shows that really pushed the envelope, you know, and recognized that, hey, kids can take rather darker stuff. We were getting stuff like the DC animated universe with stuff like Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, the Justice League Animated Series, and Justice League Unlimited. We were getting stuff like the Teen Titans show, which by season 4, it gets pretty dark since you're pretty much dealing with the devil and apocalypse in that one. There was, of course, Avatar The Last Airbender on Nick's side, which, yeah, for a Nick show at the time was
bloodbending,
quite
anyone?
different from the norm.
Yep.
Yes, bloodbending.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, great! Now we're starting to using the crossbow-like weapon from Free.
Yes,
We
very
had
good
stuff like, we had stuff like from Hasbro, Transformers Prime, which could get pretty flipping dark. Well, it helps that was in continuity with War for Cybertron, but yeah, basically more for kids, still pretty dark. And
I've
yeah, of course,
I've noticed a recent trend of when they revive shows that whose original form was just basically to sell toys, and they try and take the plots more seriously, like Voltron and She-Ra on Netflix.
Yep. There was also the Tangle animated series also had a lot of those same elements, despite still being lighthearted
Mind you,
a lot of time.
Another thing I've noticed though is that generally those shows are of very good high quality, but it's also kind of really easy to mess up. Whether it just be part of the show or the whole.
Not that it was all flawless. As a result of that trend, did give away to a lot of shows that haven't aged well and are just cringy nowadays.
Oh yeah. Like, okay, don't get me wrong. I definitely do like shows that take themselves more seriously, but it wasn't always perfect. And you know what the old saying says. You can't really appreciate the really great stuff without having some stinkers out there to show you how it can go wrong.
Mm-hmm. Like a great. Oh, hold on.
He's almost dead and covered in slime. What is these Ghostbusters too?
There you go. Let's see what else.
How fitting that, of course, there bursts new life from within the catacombs. Normally a place where there is death.
The dead, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Locusts don't have that sense of humor.
No, the Locusts don't really have the mental capacity to even come up with
the
a
only
joke.
one was the Queen, and I don't think she was really the type of making jokes.
Not really, no.
What do you know, Tio? Maybe in the past she was always just a tactical prankster. And maybe the whole war was just a prank.
I mean,
bro.
even if she was, like, that's not what we see.
What if the entire war was just a prank?
There you go.
That was the ultimate line to Marcus before she died. It's just a prank, bro.
Oh God.
Just stay still, damn it.
Like again, since these enemies have these, crossbows like that, I think the tactic is supposed to actually get close to them and taking cover behind these statues.
I know. I'm just trying to see if I can.
Like, I keep forgetting what's the English name of that game where one is turning away and one other has to reach it, but if it turns you have to stand still.
Oh, red light, green light.
Thank you. Here it's called 3 to 1 star. Don't ask me why.
So Pedro, how's your partner AI in this game?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question.
It's perfectly fine. It's basically about the same. It's exactly like you'd expect from the previous games. Really, I can't really notice any major difference. Really.
Just checking because I've seen so many games mess up NPC AI.
Well, actually, too, it's the same thing in English. They just say they count down and then they say red light because red light is stop. So and then it's green light because now you can go. That ends the turn.
Okay, can we actually get to the snatcher, or we have to face another round?
Sorry, Tail, but we only find markers in part 10.
My God, this is still going.
It's incredibly lucky that Snatcher hasn't, done its thing to Marcus. Like, you'd think that by now Marcus would have been cocooned and harvested and
pretty much just digested. And it's a shame because look at this place. This place screams, lore in telling what it wants to tell. From something that we haven't seen before because all the past stuff we've seen is just from the Pendulum War. Here we are actually seeing the actual medieval past from Sera, which is something that we haven't explored at all. I don't even remember if it's mentioned at all in the comics. So it's an actual, good thing to exploit, and yet we're just passing from room to room, killing the same enemies in the same room over and over and over.
This is part of the problem. Because time is of the essence with rescuing Marcus, we effectively don't have time to really envelop, explore, or really inspect anything. Now,
we do some comments here and there, for sure, but it's just there. It screams more like there should be material that talks about this.
It's like the original trilogy wasn't exactly amazing at world building either because it chose to focus on just cool action and the character interactions basically. The reason it's much more noticeable here is because the characters are not here to distract us from the lackluster aspects. Therefore, your attention is drawn to something else. It's just like there's nothing to distract you from the tedium of just fighting these enemies over and over and over and over and over.
It's like I've said, the original trilogy was more character-based, which means that we saw the characters going through different environments, but what really helped the story was the character actions. So, we could have a lot of story bits in there that otherwise would feel like padding, but it helped because the characters reacted well. Again, and as a result, it arguably did world building better here. Like, even stuff where we don't get blatant answers, we do get interesting implications. Special mention goes to the ghost town in Gears of War 2. Especially with that creepy as all heck medical facility with that AI who you really don't trust.
Yeah, true. That's like one of the few moments where the game did indeed focus on trying to do a bit more world building. Yeah.
I think it's like, I'd say the original Gears of War trilogy did enough world building. They added on some details here and there.
From what I've heard,
the focus was still mainly on the war.
Yeah, from what I've heard, most of the world building is done for the comics. From what I've heard, at least.
And that doesn't surprise me too much, especially considering the examples that we have seen.
It makes sense in the context, with the original Gears of War trilogy, they wanted to focus mainly on the war, and you could argue that was when Epic Game Studios was sort of starting out their run. Let me guess.
You had to yell about that?
Let me guess, the crew is underneath.
What a waste.
Do rock, paper, scissors this time?
That joke wasn't funny.
Yeah, because that joke was so funny. So Tom thought it would be great to bring it back.
I'll be honest,
guys, it's okay. The game just pointed out that it wasn't funny. That makes sense.
So why did you make it in the first place?
I think I'm starting to get it. Again, they wanted to make it more Guardians of the Galaxy, but it looks like Tom thought that what really captivated the Disney audience was the more cringy humor parts, the one that everybody loves, and he decided to run with all of them.
You know, I get it, you know. We needed a reason for our heroes to come across a certain secret that they will find by chasing after the snatcher that took Marcus. I get it, fine. But did it really need to be Marcus that got taken? Like, you could maybe argue, oh, it's just so that JD is capable just as much without his dad, but we've already seen that JD was capable before meeting his dad.
Jova, the alternatives are the token black guy or the token female member. Pick your poison.
It's more so. I would argue.
That's the thing, though. Kate's barely done anything on the plot as is.
That's
like,
the thing,
Yeah,
Jova.
that's what makes her the token girl.
Not just that, Jova. We can't really allow her to be in danger, can we?
Not just that. Don't worry, Theo. They're gonna overcompensate for that in Gears 5. So.
I was about to say it would be nice if they got her to do something, right?
Well, I'll be honest,
don't worry, Shiroi. There will be some course correction about that in Gears 5. So.
Oh snap! Open Gaming has died.
I did.
Also,
Anyway,
I gotta love the act of it we started. Do not go gentle. Jesus Christ.
I'll be honest, guys. We're over halfway through, and so far, I'm not really seeing the apparent huge badness that you guys were despairing about for the past two players.
Well, tell us, Liz,
Well, nobody said that this game is like horrible to us.
Not just that. Well, tell us what do you see actually.
All I see is just something that you can technically class as a Gears of War game based on aesthetics, well, for the characters anyway, and gameplay. But everything else so far, I'm just seeing a generic third-person shooter which, while competent, it doesn't really stick out, and the paint by numbers story doesn't really help.
Well, yeah, but Liz, that's basically what we've been saying, though. I mean, we never said the game was like an Angel of Darkness or anything like that. We never.
Okay. Let me refresh your memory. It wasn't Gears of War 4 we were talking about with the badness. That was mainly Gears of War 5 where we talked about the epic badness. Gears of War 4, like I myself said, could be stupid, yes, but wasn't nearly as bad as what Gears 5 has in store.
Remember, this is the Force Awakens. We haven't gotten to the Last Jedi yet.
God,
so what's Gears of War 6 gonna be then? The Rise of Skywalker, where they retcon
Rise of Skywalker mixed with Solo.
I guess in that kind
Pedro,
of sense,
Pedro, I got it. I think I got how Gears of War 6 is gonna be. It's like Gears 6, so we're not doing the old war anymore. Basically, because of all the backlash Kate has been getting, they're just gonna relegate her to a background character and bring the queen of the Locust back because why not? And also they're going to establish the main villain of this particular era was nothing more than a clone of the queen. Meanwhile, all the other characters will either get bad romances or fuck all else to do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, does that also mean that Gears Tactics is Rogue One instead?
I don't know, I haven't seen Gears.
Well, Teo, that's the thing, Teo. Gears Tactics doesn't really have anything to do... Like Rogue One recontextualizes some stuff from A New Hope. Gears Tactics has absolutely nothing to do with anything from the original. It's just a self-contained side story, basically. The only connection, the only connection is that we meet Kate's father and we know how, and he meets Reyna at the end. That's it.
Okay.
That's literally the only moments where there's a connection. Even then, the game doesn't really care much about that. To be fair.
Now, to be fair, it's not a bad story, and trust me, it's a lot better than what Gears 4 or 5.
Oh, it's the best one that we've had since the coalition took over. It's just it's not bad. It's just average. It's just incredibly average.
Can we stop with the pulsating sacks, please?
Well, the Rift Worm also had a lot of this stuff.
I think it was more tamed. There's a sort of a difference in between making the interior or something. I'll mention later.
Down there. Yeah, sure. Why not? Maybe we use that old ore transporter.
Looks like an elevator to hell.
Oh, thanks for that contribution, Kate.
I'm on the elevator to hell. Not in the highway to hell, the elevator to hell.
Not just that, the interior of the rift worm had, for this kind of thing, only the heart. The rest look more like rocky formations, you know. Sure, it has a bit of an eldritch abomination vibe to it.
Oh, there you go,
but
too. Wall building. They couldn't burn the bodies because of the crystallization. That's why they had to bury them under here. There you go.
Oh. Wait, you couldn't burn the locust bodies?
Because it's kind of hard to burn.
The bodies were crystallizing, Theo. JD just said.
But the bomb, the device that Adam built was supposed to eliminate the emulsion inside crystallize them.
No, but that's the thing too. Apparently, when locusts die in mass, they start crystallizing, even though that was never a thing that we saw.
Wait. They're lessees that complete their task now?
I guess. I don't really understand, Theo, because basically, Shiroi, never at any point in the original trilogy or Judgment did they ever tell us that when locusts die, they start crystallize. Their bodies start crystallizing. This.
Well, I mean, that's not exactly a Well, I wouldn't exactly call that a law-breaking detail or anything.
Well, that's the theme, Dweebs. We have been killing these things for 4 games straight at this point, 4.5 considering this one. There are moments, you know, where the locust gets chopped in half, literally sawed in half, thanks to the Lancer. But now you're telling me that the moment their heart stops or something, they cannot be burned or you know, broke because they turn into crystal.
I mean, going back to the Star Wars example, I was okay with most of the newer things that the sequel trilogy added. The main problem was the main problem wasn't that they existed. The main problem was how they were done.
Well, obviously, it's more the same thing goes here. Much like Force Awakens, the flaws of this game are not as near as apparent as what comes after. Go ahead.
Although, okay. First off, to be fair, unlike this game element, Force Awakens, at least when it came out, gave people more hope than the annoyance that this game gives. Also,
because they've already seen A New Hope.
Anyway, though, but yeah, I'll just call it like it is, though. The whole Locust thing, that's what it is, a retcon. Is it a good retcon? That's up for you to decide, but it's regardless of whether or not you think it's a good or bad retcon, it's a weird retcon, though, because it's a retcon that comes up so much later into the stuff, and really feels like a retcon made for the convenience of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, at its pit, that's kind of what a retcon is, something made to, you know, make certain plot points more convenient here and there. Doesn't always have to be, but that's more often than not how it is.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is that,
retcons can actually be a good thing if done right. I mean, hell, Rogue One did that really well. You know, retconning the whole. Ooh, why did the Empire leave a giant gaping flaw in the Death
Actually, Dweebs, the original expanded universe already had an answer to that.
The guy wanted to screw over the Empire, put it there.
All right,
like Theo said, the original expanded universe did kind of do that already.
Okay, what is it?
JD, we have no idea what's down there.
Okay.
We don't even know.
Like that stopped you at this point.
I mean, you already gone this far.
How bad the fire is.
Look, Del, if you're scared.
Man, don't talk to me about being scared. Right now, I don't even know what kind of house it is.
When you wanted to leave the COG, did I argue? Did I argue?
You did not.
Because I trusted you. Well, now I need you to trust me. My dad's alive, and he's down there.
It's a world family.
I want to Kate agrees with you, as you're about to hear.
How about you?
Hey, we've come this far.
Yeah, like seriously.
Yeah, you come all the way down there.
Seems pretty logical to me, if you ask me.
Yeah, just keep going.
You were saying something about stereotypes too?
No, like again, the way they, they elected, it's funny because apparently the complaints had been raised about Cole being a negative stereotype when, he just acted now like that bit there is in the first Blade movie where he's acting stereotypically to thwart all the cops. Like, why?
Also,
anyway,
am I the only one starting a pattern here? Sorry, noticing a pattern here.
Like we're going through the same room. We're going through the same room and fighting the same enemies.
Well, that too, yes. But in terms of the narrative, here's the basic pattern. A character talks about how worrying the situation is. The other one goes, "Oh, come on, it'll be fine. Come on, let's go." And that's that's basically all the conversations in this game. Oh man, this is
like in the Star Trek movies. I don't know what it's called, but okay.
Pedro, you forgot the third step. After the actual characters are done talking, then Kate speaks up.
True. Yeah, that's the.
I mean, in this case, to be fair, someone did ask Kate.
My point is that Kate really has not been an actual character in this narrative. She's kind of just been.
But Shova, remember, she's the one who's gonna have to make the ultimate sacrifice at the end of this game.
That doesn't make her an actual character, though.
It makes her a tool.
Pretty much.
All right.
See you next.
See you next part. Yeah.
See ya.